Welcome to the Planning Commission, Tuesday, March 5th, 2024 in council chambers. Call to order.
Mayor Tischek.
Here.
Councilmember O'Reilly.
Here.
Commissioner Caprillion. Here. Commissioner Frederick.
Here.
Commissioner Bessler.
Here.
Commissioner Beath.
Here.
Mr. Piles was going to be with us by Zoom. I do not see him at this time. We'll keep an eye out for him, but we do have a quorum.
Thank you. And roll call is completed?
Complete, yes.
Item 3, approval of agenda. And I am guessing that was from, oh boy, the January meeting, correct? Because we don't have a date. Because we did not have a meeting in February because
It's to approve tonight's agenda. Okay. I don't know if it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Second?
Who moved first?
John, yes,
did.
yep. And Kim,
All
second.
right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 4, approval of minutes, January 16th, 2024 meeting. Approved by John,
Yeah, I'll second that.
second by Kim.
All right.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5, identify potential conflicts of interest. Please be advised per City Policy 3.340 that any member of this body shall declare a conflict if they have an interest, financial or otherwise direct or indirect, or engage in a small or transaction or professional activity or incur an obligation of any nature that is in conflict with the proper discharge of the body's official duties. Any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, move on to item 6, citizen comment. Citizen comment? Third time citizen comment. Seeing no citizen comments, move on to item 7. Conditional use permit request by Henry Berry for exemptions to the parking area, landscaping requirements for a proposed parking lot for the property located at 710 Columbus Avenue, parcel 33-03354A, zone CD, campus development. The proposed parking area will generally be located to the west of the middle/high school building and to the south of Our Lady of Peace Church parking area. Presenter will be Steve Barg, City Administrator.
Give me just a second.
Yes, that's fine.
There we go.
Yep, it's up on the screen.
Yeah.
And Franklin is here. Good evening, Franklin.
Evening.
Thank you. Good evening. Bryce Hembrook, our contract planner with SEH, is not available tonight. He had another commitment, so I'm filling in for him on this conditional use permit request, as you outlined, Mayor. This request is from Henry Berry, representing Columbus Catholic Schools. The request is for exceptions to the parking area, landscaping requirements for a proposed parking lot for the property at 710 Columbus Avenue, as was mentioned earlier. Just to note, the first the first Columbus Catholic Schools Campus Master Plan was approved by the council last year about this time on February 28th of 2023. Created as all campus master plans are to outline the expected future projects and to provide a future for the development to expect in the next 5 years. The master site plan did provide, in this case, for some projects and also potential future parking to be installed. In January of 2024, just 2 months ago, the campus master plan was amended to remove a proposed softball field and to add a parking area in its place. The area will be graded and used to store construction equipment and vehicles while the field house is being constructed, but the school's intent is to then convert that to a permanent parking area as that winds down. According to the application, the proposed parking lot is about 36,000 square feet. The applicant is requesting an exception from the landscape island requirements, and I'll describe those requirements in a moment, but here is their rationale for requesting this exception. The existing parking lot at Our Lady of Peace does not have any landscape islands. The landscape islands in this case would make snow removal quite difficult. Stormwater features will be provided to the south of the proposed parking lot. And without the islands, it will still meet the parking landscaping requirements. So, I'm going to tab ahead here. This is the site. You can see the parking lot area shaded in sort of reddish up on the upper left. It's just along the east side of Schmidt Avenue. It's a long rectangular area. And here you see it with the proposed parking stalls drawn in. Section 18 of the code requires that for every 20 off-street parking stalls or 10,000 square feet of parking area, landscape plants must meet a minimum as shown in figure 13. Or it requires 60 landscape points for 20 stalls or 10,000 square feet, whichever is greater. It also requires these stalls to be broken up by a landscape parking island, and you can imagine why. We've all driven around parking lots that do not have that and appear to be somewhat of a free-for-all. And so the landscape parking islands help direct traffic and help break up and I think give an aesthetic quality as well. The applicant is proposing 99 parking stalls and an increase of parking and traffic circulation area by 36,000 square feet. According to the zoning code, the parking addition requires 297 what we call landscape points. This is how we track landscaping additions. The applicant is proposing to add over 700 landscape points. As you'll see right here, looking around the west and south side, west along Schmidt, and then the southeast or southwest side, I should say, of the proposed parking area. The zoning code generally requires, as I said, one landscape island per 12 parking spaces. The parking area that you're looking at shows 3 rows of 24 parking spaces and 1 row of 27 parking spaces. The reason that staff is comfortable allowing this exception is because the applicant is providing landscaping above and beyond the typical requirements. I mentioned the 270 or 297 points normally required, and they'll be providing about 700, about 2.5 times the amount that would be required normally. So there's plenty of landscaping provided in the site plan. Staff does believe that there will not be any other negative effects across the campus. We think this meets the intended purpose of landscaping for aesthetic purposes and still considers the added burden that landscape islands would put on the applicant and the additional cost that they would bear as a result. Whenever we look at a conditional use permit, which is required in this case for the landscape islands, we look at the criteria for making a determination on granting a conditional use permit. There are 5 of them. The first one is it in harmony with the recommendations of the comprehensive plan? Bryce, in his review, as you saw in his staff memo, finds that there are no conflicts with the proposed or with the current comprehensive plan. Will result in a substantial or undue adverse impact on nearby property, the character of the neighborhood, environmental factors, traffic factors, parking, and other things. His conclusion in the staff report is that allowing this exception will not have any adverse effect on the surrounding neighborhood. The amount of landscaping proposed, as I said earlier, is more than what's normally required for this parking area. Maintain the consistency of land users, land use intensities, and land use impact as it relates to the subject property. The consistency of the land use will not change. The proposed parking lot was approved as part of the overall campus master plan. Again, the reason for this conditional use permit is not the parking lot itself, it's the landscaping exception that's being requested. The conditional use is located in an area that will be adequately served and will not impose an undue burden on any of the improvements, facilities, or services provided. There is no impact expected on this from utilities or anything similar in the parking area. And then finally, that the proposed public benefit outweighs any potential adverse impacts of the proposed conditional use after taking everything into consideration. And Bryce notes that the purpose of the landscaping requirement islands is to avoid large expansive areas of parking without any landscaping or barriers in the middle of them. But in this case, the rest of the parking areas on campus do not have any landscape islands anyway. There will be additional landscaping to address the aesthetic area needs and keep them looking attractive. And there is, as he said before, no adverse impact in staff's opinion to the surrounding area. So with that in mind, staff would approve or recommend approval of the conditional use permit request, subject to the following conditions. As stated earlier, number 1, no landscape islands are required in the proposed parking area. Number 2, the parking area landscaping shall be installed as is displayed on the site plan with a minimum of 700 landscaping points. Final landscaping plan shall be submitted and reviewed and approved by staff. And then, as often the case, any minor adjustments to the site plan may be approved administratively, provided no other exceptions are requested. With that in mind, as I said, staff would recommend approval of the proposed conditional use permit for the exception to the landscape parking island requirement.
And now we have a public hearing required. So at this time, public hearing is open. And may I have any comments? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. And we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mary, and second by Alderman O'Reilly. Mary Baszler.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. When Steve gets done writing.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay?
All right, that's fine.
Thank you.
Mayor Teeswick?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Reilly?
Yes.
Commissioner Frederick?
Yes.
Commissioner Caprillion?
Yes.
Commissioner Bessler?
Yes.
Commissioner Peace?
Yes.
Commissioner Piles?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing regarding the proposed boundary and project plan for tax incremental district number 15, City of Marshfield, Wisconsin, presented by Josh Miller, Cedar Corporation.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Thank you. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about tax incremental district number 15. If you recall, last summer, we created tax incremental district number 14, and they do go in sequential order. This is proposed to be a blighted TIF district, and I'll touch on that a little bit, what that means. But first of all, I want to show the location of the proposed district. It is south of 29th Street, east of Central Avenue, and north of the business park. So that's it includes portions of the Mill Creek Business Park as well. So it's about 143 acres, excluding all wetlands. And that includes rights of way and real property in the district. So tonight, the charge of the Plan Commission is to review the project plan, to review the boundaries. Ultimately, what you'll be asked to do by resolution is to approve of the project plan and recommend the district boundaries to the Common Council. That's what the resolution states. The purpose for the district, this area has been identified as a redevelopment area in the comprehensive plan. Letters were sent out to property, because this is a blighted TIF, letters were sent out to all the property owners within the district identifying that this is a blighted TIF. Basically, a blighted TIF has to be comprised of at least 50% of the district has to be identified as blighted. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that the properties have anything necessarily wrong with them. It doesn't mean that the properties will lose value, or that there's enforcement obligations to the property owners, or that the city is planning on doing any acquisition of those properties. It's strictly a term that we have to follow through the statutes. And I'll just read what the definition is. It was included in the letters that we sent to property owners, but I'll include at least the first definition, which covers a good portion of the area. So definition 1, it's an area in which the structures, buildings, or improvements contribute to ill health, transmission of disease, infant mortality, juvenile delinquency, or crime, and are detrimental to public health, safety, morals, or welfare due to dilapidation, deterioration, age or obsolescence, inadequate provisions for ventilation, light, air, sanitation, or open spaces, high density population and overcrowding, or the existence of conditions which endanger life or property by fire and other causes. So you can see it covers a wide range of different things, and it's basically it's what the blighted TIF allows the city to do is it's a funding mechanism. It allows the city to capture the increments that's generated in this district and be able to use those funds to help reduce the blight or help eliminate those situations. It also helps the city provide for infrastructure, and we'll touch on this in a little bit as well, but in the project list of project costs, there's a number of projects in there. Whenever we look at the area, we work with the engineering division of the city, Public Works Department, and identify potential projects that the city may take on. Now, that doesn't mean that the city's going to spend the money on those projects or that those projects are going to happen. A lot of it's going to depend on the cash flow. It's going to depend on the amount of increment that's generated, the amount of new development and redevelopment that happens within the TIF. So that's essentially the blighted, what the blighted definition means. I do have kind of so we looked at those individual items in that definition and identified these as the potential blighted parcels. And again, this is it's mostly the north, north of 35th Street and all these parcels. And so we looked at the kind of the matrix, and hopefully I can get to it without this. I'm going to stop sharing because I'm going to have to. So we looked at all the matrix and went through each parcel by parcel. And a lot of it is we're looking at, okay, if there's gravel areas, that could be detrimental to property values because we don't really allow that anymore. We want to make sure that things are hard surface. It impacts the water quality and stormwater. If there's material piles, things like that, sand, dust and things like that, that can impact air quality. If there are equipment and things like that that are stored outside off of a hard surface area, that all has an impact. Dilapidated parking areas, weeds growing up. There's flooding areas in some parcels that the city knows about. If there are deteriorated building materials, roof issues. And so we identified at least one of those issues on most of those parcels. So that doesn't mean that they're, again, problematic, but what the blighted TIF essentially does is it allows the city to be able to make project expenditures within this district. Two advantages of having a blighted district versus an industrial district. So if you look at the current TID 5 that's there in the Mill Creek Business Park, that's an industrial district. Well, that we only get 20 years worth of life out of those districts. In a blighted TIF, you get 27 years because a good chunk of that is not greenfield development. It's already development, so you have a lesser chance of getting more increment because most of it is already built up. And so there's less opportunity for new development. Additionally, it can also be the recipient of a donor district. So if there is a chance that there is not enough increment to be captured, the city could look at the other districts and say this TIF district is doing well. They can donor the additional increment from those districts to this district to help pay for project costs. And so there's a benefit to having it being a blighted district. I'll just go over the project plan. I believe that was all included in your packet. So there's a number of things that are required by state law that we have to include. We include the purpose of the district, again, is to touch on to help eliminate blight, potentially to create new jobs and add tax base. That would be ideal. And hopefully by the time this district closes in 27 years, or closes sooner than that, if all the project costs are paid for, we'll have achieved that goal. Benefits to and promotion of orderly development. This allows us to, there are some parcels in there that have green space and there's an opportunity for infill development. And likely these things would not happen without the TIF. And one of the sections is the but-for test, meaning that if it weren't for the TIF district, these projects would not happen at the same rate and the same type as described in the project plan. So that's ultimately a finding that the Joint Review Board has to make, but it should be discussed at every level of this review process. And before I continue, I guess I'll touch on the process quickly. This is a 4-part process to create a TIF district. The first part is the convening of the Joint Review Board, which is all the different taxing entities, the school district, the technical school, the county, and the city, and the member at large. They met last week, and so they selected their chairperson and member at large, and we discussed this project plan with them. There were not any initial questions. After the public hearing and approval of the resolution, if it does get passed tonight, it goes to the Common Council for their consideration. If the council approves it by resolution, the district is then created as of that date, but then it still has to go to the Joint Review Board, and they get to decide whether or not the district is actually finalized. So the city can then incur project costs as of the date that they create it from the Common Council, but that's at risk until the Joint Review Board basically would approve it the following couple weeks. So existing and proposed land use, as I mentioned, at least 50% of the district has to be identified as blighted. If you look at section 4, we've identified about 60% of the district to be blighted. And again, that includes rights of way. We had to exclude any potential wetland areas, and that's identified by the DNR wetland overlay. Identifying project costs. So we list the state statute has a laundry list of eligible project costs. We kind of reiterate them here of what potential project costs there could be. In our Appendix B, we further identify and put actual costs to those projects, project costs that we anticipate the city making expenditures for. But they can include capital costs, street construction, reconstruction, utilities, assistance to property owners, cash grants, things like that. And this really doesn't change how the city operates. So the city could still do special assessments on properties that they would normally do. They still follow their policy, but this would help offset the city's costs and could assist the developers with some site improvement opportunities. We did budget some money for that. So let's say there's, if there's a dilapidated building and the city could develop a program that provides some cash or some assistance for a property owner to, if they put in some work and put in some money into a project, the city could match it or provide some assistance to help kind of seed those projects and help them happen. Because without the TIF, these projects probably wouldn't happen to the same extent that they're proposed. Economic feasibility study, that's in the appendix as well. It just identifies the potential borrowing, potential project costs, the cash flow that could occur if these projects happen. We do not know exactly how the future is going to play out. We have to do a best guess. So we put together a list of kind of a wish list of projects and put some costs to those. Those are $2024 at this point. So 27 years from now, some of those projects could be a lot more expensive. But hopefully the tax base is increased and there's more revenue to help cover those. But essentially, our focus was really on a couple main projects in the beginning. We did not cash flow for all the projects and really listed that as to be determined, because if there's additional development that happens, we could take on additional projects. We touch on just the financing and identifying, typically you're going to use the bonding. The city's going to bond for any borrowing that needs to take place, or could, say trust fund loan or other conventional borrowing opportunities. Master plan and building codes, we don't anticipate any changes. The current comprehensive plan shows this area as both a mix of retail mixed use and then also light industrial. That's going to continue. Don't foresee that changing. The city could still make zoning changes as needed if it's, but we don't identify any right now. So even if zoning changes are made, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to change the project plan. Financing of public improvements, non-project costs. What those are costs that cannot be paid through for the TIF. And so, like, if there are special assessments that are applied to a property, though they can't double dip, and the city can't get the tax revenue to pay for those and special assessments from the property owner. Also, if there's grants available, or if there's a portion of the improvement that benefits only a portion of the TIF, and it benefits areas outside the TIF, only the portion that benefits the TIF can be charged to the TIF. So. One example is the mill and overlay projects that surround part of the boundary. Not all of that benefits just the TIF. Some of it benefits the property owners that are outside the TIF. So only a portion of that can be paid for through the TIF. Don't anticipate any relocation. And the equalized value test, the city is limited to 12% of its equalized value that can be included in the base value of a new TIF we're creating, as well as the increment of all the other existing TIFs that are existing. If you remember back in TID 14, this number was actually a little bit higher, the percentages. And the reason for that is TID 5 was still existing. The city has to close TID 5 before it can create this TID 15 district because you can't overlap a distressed TIF district. So we're actually looking to take out $23 million of value out of the increment. Once that closes and once that gets, the city's also done affordable housing extension for that. So they're able to capture 1 year of increment to assist with housing. Once that's all said and done, the rest of that money will get distributed. The taxes from that increment will get distributed to the other taxing entities, which they're usually pretty happy to see that. We don't estimate that less than 35% will be retail. None of the property's been annexed in the last 3 years. And then this but-for requirement is basically identifying that the district would not develop as we're projecting unless the district was created. So that's essentially the findings that we will be asking the Joint Review Board to make in a couple weeks. And then these are the maps showing the location, the parcels, the half-mile boundary, so the city can make expenditures within a half mile. We do have some projects that are identified, but again, can only attribute a portion that benefits the TIF to the TID from a financing standpoint. These are the existing conditions and uses, future land uses as shown on the comprehensive plan, the zoning map, the tax parcel map, and so these are the listing of all the property owners within the TID, the assessed value, including the land and improvement value, and that's where we got our equalized value for our 12% test, including the legal description. And then this is the list of project costs, and this is included in your packet, but just really high level touch on some of these. So we got a couple of road construction projects potentially to be included along with some mill and overlay, adding some utilities. Oh, the other thing I didn't mention about the blight, but one of the factors is sanitation, and some properties within this district do not have utilities currently. So they either lack either sewer or water, and this would be potential to be able to connect those properties to the city system. Additionally, there's facade and exterior improvements and cash grants, and then the administrative and financing fees. And these are the proposed project locations. You can see that a number of them are just outside the edges of the TIF, and then a few of them are within the TIF. Those are all the capital projects, the public infrastructure type projects, and includes mill and overlay. We also have pavement markings for crosswalks and stuff in the Mill Creek Business Park, which would be, we've been talking to the businesses down there, and that's one thing that they asked for. So this will be helpful, that those trails down there get a lot of use. So this will be a good benefit to that as well. So then there's just the financials. We have some development assumptions. Again, no magic formula here, just kind of identifying that, hey, there's potential for development here. We do have some green space in this TID, but we also have some infill development potential. And we're just kind of making some projections, and hopefully we see it develop. Hopefully it develops at a better clip than this. As I mentioned, TID 5 is looking to close. We really don't have any other ability to provide assistance to businesses in the Mill Creek Business Park or in the area right now. So this is really the reason to create this TIF, is to be able the city to have that tool and that opportunity to provide assistance to new businesses that come into the area. So that's about it. Just again, a little bit more on the financial stuff. We kind of limited the scope of that though, just because we don't have we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But we worked with Ellers, the financial advisor for the city, and they're comfortable with what we've put together so far. And then the Appendix C and D will come after the proceedings, because we still need the public notices and the city attorney opinion, which we will get at a later date. But that's all I have for now. If there's questions, I'm happy to entertain any questions.
And this is also a public hearing required. A public hearing is now open. May I like to speak? Public hearing is now closed. We need a motion from the floor. Alderman O'Reilly motions. Second by Alderman Frederick. Excuse me. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Yep, thank you.
Yep. Mayor Teastrick?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Reilly?
Yes.
Commissioner Frederick?
Yes.
Commissioner Caprillion?
Yes.
Commissioner Bressler?
Yes.
Commissioner Beath?
Yes.
Commissioner Piles?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for that great presentation, Josh. Give us all a little extra about what's going on. Consideration and possible action on Plan Commission Resolution Number PC 2024-01, resolution of the Plan Commission recommending proposed boundary and adopting the proposed project plan for tax incremental district number 15. Oh, I'm sorry, I just read that. I apologize. Boy, oh boy. Nope, this is right.
That's right.
Okay, City of Marshfield, Wisconsin, presented by Josh Miller. I kind of got a little weird because there you go, Josh. Thank you, because he sat down.
No, I think that was the presentation. I don't know if you guys voted on the public. So the
We
vote
actually just voted on,
the resolution.
yes, sir.
Okay,
Yep.
so that should have been, just to clarify, the vote was to approve the resolution.
Yeah, good
Okay,
point.
thank you.
Just want to
Good
make sure
point.
that.
I took that as the action item, but good point.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 10, review and recommend action regarding possible vacation of Veterans Parkway right-of-way Per preliminary resolution number 2024-04 to the Common Council presenter, Tom Turchi, Director of Public Works.
Good evening. The developer of parcel 250, 2603, 130967 of parcel number being Lot 1 of Marathon County CSM 14568 has requested the city to vacate some excess right-of-way adjacent to this parcel. Upon the vacation of the portion of Lincoln Avenue and West Veterans Parkway frontage road, the developer will be completing a certified survey map to reconfigure the adjacent parcels. A copy of this new layout is attached. The street vacation process includes a draft resolution presented to the Common Council, which is then referred to the Plan Commission. The council did forward this to the Plan Commission for a recommendation. Once the Plan Commission makes a recommendation, a public hearing is held by the Common Council and a final action is taken on the resolution. A draft copy of Resolution 2024-04 is attached. And this is from Marwood Real Estate 2 LLC is requesting this vacation. And so the recommended approval to request vacating a portion of Lincoln Avenue and West Veterans Parkway as shown and to refer to the Common Council for their consideration.
So we need a motion. Alderman O'Reilly, second by Alderman, excuse me, I'm sorry, John Cabrillion. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 11, review and recommend action regarding possible vacation of Bradford Court right-of-way per preliminary resolution number 2024-03 to the Common Council. Presenter, Tom Turchi, Director of Public Works.
All right, the developer of Outlot 1 at the west end of Bradford Court is proposing to redevelop the parcel with a series of duplexes and triplexes. Upon the vacation of this portion of Bradford Court, the developer will be completing a certified survey map to reconfigure the adjacent parcels. A copy of the new layout is attached. Basically, what will be vacating a portion of the extended cul-de-sac, and there will be either just a cul-de-sac bulb at the end of Bradford Court, so it'll shorten up that overall street for more developable property. The street vacation process includes a draft resolution presented to the Common Council, which is then referred to the Plan Commission for a recommendation. Once the Commission makes a recommendation, a public hearing is held by the Council and final action is taken on the resolution. A draft copy of Resolution 2024-03 is attached. I'd recommend approval to request to vacate a portion of Bradford Court and refer to the Common Council for their consideration.
We need a motion. Commissioner Besler makes a motion.
Yep.
Second by Commissioner Frederick. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Item 12, staff updates.
I only have one, but I'm very pleased to make this update because we've talked at many meetings about needing someone in the position of planning and economic development. It was about 2 years ago that Josh Miller, our then development services director, left to take a job in the private sector. We've been blessed to have him the last year or so as a consultant with us from Cedar Corporation. But tonight it is my great pleasure to introduce Carrie Edmondson, who the new face that you're seeing up here. Carrie has had a great history of work in planning, zoning, and economic development. She holds a AICP certified planner status. She has a master's degree in public administration from California State University. And most recently, she's been working for the city of Wisconsin Rapids as a community development specialist and associate planner. So we're excited to have her on staff. She's been here for a week and a half, already contributing greatly. You'll be seeing her at Plan Commission a lot going forward. And I just ask you to welcome Carrie.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you all. Anything else, Steve?
That's all I have tonight. But it's a good announcement, so I'd like to make it again. No, I'm just kidding.
Go for it.
Just kidding.
And item 13, items for future agendas. Alderman O'Reilly.
I was wondering if it would be possible to discuss potentially moving the meetings to 6:30 instead of 7. Just seems like we have that window open a lot and just for discussion purposes.
Yeah, we can't discuss it now, but let's put it on the agenda for April.
Okay, wonderful. Anybody else? Anything before this meeting? Otherwise, who would like to adjourn? Everybody's hands up.
Wait,
So you can pick anybody you want.
Okay, all right, I'll just pick two people. That sounds good. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Thank you.